All right. Hey, everyone. Good to see you all. Cool. Yeah, interesting, right? Hey, guys. Hey, welcome. Welcome to the stream. My name is Mark Markets. You guys know me. If you're new to the stream, welcome. I'm just going to explain to you how this works real quick, and then we're going to get right into this because I don't want to waste a lot of time here. There's a lot of action, a lot of stuff to talk about here. All right. So first thing I'm going to go over is the economic calendar. Very quickly, you should be aware of what things are going on this week, scheduled events, so that you can be prepared in terms of risk. Then we're gonna jump into the charts here real quick. I'm gonna just talk about the update to my analysis that I published on TradingView yesterday. Hopefully you read that. And then we're gonna go look into we're gonna look for trades, right? On the 1 minute chart, because there's a lot of action here and there's plenty of good examples to talk about. So if you want to share what city or what country you're from, that's always a fun fact. I'm streaming from the greater New York City area, also known as Northern New Jersey. And I have to say hello to some of my regulars. We got Savi from Brooklyn. How you doing, Savi? We got Steen. Steen is back, people. I haven't seen Steen in weeks. Steen, I got your message on the WhatsApp thing. I'm going to answer you. But thank you for reaching out and just giving me some heads up on what's going on. And it's great to see you, man. Great to hear back from you. I know you've been busy. Steen has been very busy, but you know, Steen is like a very important part of this whole process. And now he says things are getting a little bit better, and he'll be able to start getting some things done so that we can see some updates to the script. Anyway, Steen, thanks for coming back. It's great to see you. Hussein, good to see you. We got James. All right, guys, all my regulars. All right, cool. So first things first, let's just get right into the economic calendar. So we have a couple of things this week worth mentioning. First, we have on Wednesday, which is the ADP employment number. And we have also, there was some PMI numbers, it wasn't that important. All right, let's just put it that way. But the ADP number can move markets intraday somewhat. It's not a major piece of news, but you want to be aware of it, especially if you day trade anything, right? So that's Wednesday. On Thursday, we have the European Central Bank. They have their rate announcement. So that can cause movements overnight, at least Eastern time, usually 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. I don't know exactly what time they come out with their rate announcement, but that's like their FOMC. So it can affect euro crosses. If you're in Forex, it can have somewhat of an effect on the dollar, but it's not the same effect as FOMC. It's not the same magnitude, but you want to be aware of it, right? It is the ECB. And then on Friday, of course, we have non-farm payrolls. So that's usually the most important scheduled event next to FOMC meetings each month. That's at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, the first Friday of every month. Make sure you're aware of that. Going into that, markets can get very erratic. Volume can typically shrink, because usually larger players or a lot of participants don't want to take risk going into such a number. Remember, that number who knows, right? If they're, especially right now, things are very sensitive right now. And all types of news is coming out. I mean, it's just one thing after another all over the place. Hussein mentions here, interesting day after yesterday's news. What news? Because, I mean, I know there's lots of news. Maybe you could be more specific. All right, so, but yeah, these markets are very sensitive, right? We have arguments in the Oval Office, and that sparks like movements in the market. It's just like, it's nuts. So you can't really react to that news. You have to be very careful. It's better to know your levels and understand the price structure. You will be much better prepared no matter what the news is. That's why I emphasize that so much. Now, let's make my chart bigger here. Hey, I made some changes. Do you guys like the size of this chart? I made my head a little bigger, right? And I made some changes to this here. So does that the size of that chart, does that work for you guys? I've found a new streaming platform, and I'm actually going to stop using this one, and I'm going to use a better one that has some really cool features. And so my streams will soon be a little more engaging, because I'm going to be able to do some things that I cannot do with this software, right? So so stay tuned for that. But anyway, I was messing around with this software, and as you can see, I came up with this new format over here. So if you like my screen format, I'll keep it like this, but the new version is going to be even better than this. Okay. Anyway, so just a little heads up there. All right. So let's talk about this Bitcoin situation and give you a quick update on my analysis. So I wrote this on TradingView yesterday, right? And I used these two arrows to illustrate my point, right? We had the pin bar, which you had to watch out for. Now, my analysis from the previous week, I was talking about the 90K test. In fact, that was part of the title, right? You had the Bybit hack. I said, watch for the 90K test. Now, 90K was an important level. We never, ever got any type of confirmation on this time frame. It just closed through the level weak. Now, maybe intraday, there may have been action there. I don't remember what the charts were at that time. And that might be more appropriate for day trades. But taking positions at such a level, just because it's a level, is usually not a good enough reason to justify risk. You need confirmation. The confirmation came with the pin bar, but the pin bar low was 78K and the pin bar high was 85K. So that's a tough pin bar to take. It's a big pin bar. It's 7,000 points. So you have to keep that in mind. But waiting for the pin bar, waiting for this, you're better off doing that than trying to step in during this mess. Because if you bought this thing at too high, you had to sit in that thing till 78K. Most likely you're going to get margined out. Is that what they were rallying about, Hussein? That is such nonsense. I mean, I've seen they've been talking about that. What is that? Is it official now? I mean, because if that's the case, if that's why we got this candle, if this is what everyone was excited about, we're in trouble. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now. If that was the catalyst for this candle, cool. But here's the problem. This is a massive lower high. And yesterday, when I was writing the article, we were fooling around 94K. And I said, okay, I'm anticipating to pull back to 90K, and I would be looking for a bounce in that area if we can get confirmation. As you can see, we went straight through. No confirmation. There's nothing. In fact, we gave back the entire bullish candle. That is bearish. Very bearish. And when I say, I mean, you can say, yeah, sure, it's bearish, obviously. No, but I'm talking about for the bigger picture. I was not anticipating a move to retest 78K. But after a candle like this, I am. If this candle closes like this, whenever you have a sharp move and the market just gives the entire thing back effortlessly, which is what this is effortless. Gave the entire thing back, right? And we're breaking the low of that bullish candle. We're basically on that low. This is a lower high. So this little illustration here is no longer relevant, right? Because that's what I was anticipating. That scenario is no longer relevant. This is how you have to adjust. I had the idea. The market failed to confirm the idea. So lower high likely to lead to lower low, or at least test of low, which is 78K. Now, an important point that I have to make here. If 78K is broken, you're looking at 73K next, because 73K, I don't know if you all remember, but that was the previous all-time high before the election. So 78K is only 5,000 points away. This thing can easily do 5,000 points in a day, as you've noticed. So 73K would be the next support if 78K is cleared. And that's what these lines, I have lines on the chart if we go a little lower on the chart, right? So if you notice too, I had this area highlighted. Interestingly enough, we bounced off of that area, right? Because that was basically like a key area once it got cleared, and we're just giving it back now. So I would anticipate test of low unless the market proves otherwise. So how do we play that? Well, as a swing trader, I'm not going to short this thing, and I'm not going to short it now. So if you're going to short, I mean, if I was going to short this thing, it would be as day trades, because I don't want to get caught if this thing turns around again. When this thing rallies, man, it's hard. And I don't want to get caught on the wrong side of that. But for a day trade, it's no problem, right? I mean, the thing is, I don't spend a lot of time with day trades in Bitcoin, really. I don't spend a lot of time with that. I'd spend probably most of my time here on this stream if I do it at all. And this isn't even real. It's on paper. I take some trades here and there for real, but I spend most of my time, honestly, on futures, because there's a lot of action there and they just make a lot more sense to me than this. But anyway, I show this because there's a lot of interest in this. Now, so with that said, that's what I'd be anticipating. As far as swing trades go, there's not a whole lot to do right now, except waiting for a test of low. Maybe you get a double bottom followed by some type of new reversal. Ideally, if we got a failed low, below the 78K, if we got a failed low in this area, I'll highlight the area, something like this in this area, and we got a new pin bar there sometime this week, that would be an ideal spot for a new swing trade long. But again, profit objectives have to be pretty conservative because this thing is not looking so good. And you have to take your profits when you can get them in this situation. Now, I would still argue that this trend hasn't changed yet. I would not qualify this as a broad bearish trend, just a short-term one. But that doesn't mean it's not going to change, right? If we start pushing 65K, then the bigger picture is then starting to look bearish. And you say, man, by the time it pushes 65K, like, isn't it obvious? Well, the thing is, we can still argue that this is still bullish. It's just in a consolidation. So you don't want to get too bearish yet, especially bigger picture. You don't want to get too bearish yet. In fact, those 70Ks are good investment prices. Mid 70Ks, low 70Ks. If this thing manages to get into the 60s, those are actually good investment dollar cost averaging prices. I'm not going to get into all those details right now. I've talked about that before. Many of you know that story, but that's how I would treat that. All right. So you guys follow me so far? Any questions about this? Any questions about this nasty candle and what this implies about the next few days? Because this is not bullish. Any questions about that? Because if not, I'm going to jump right into the trades. Any questions? Okay, well, I'm switching over here. You guys, if I see a question, I'll answer it. All right, now, so let's talk about the Trade Scanner Pro. I want to get right into this. So as you know, if you want to learn how the Trade Scanner Pro works, that's a script that Steen has built for me. And there's a link in the description that will take you to a tutorial, a YouTube tutorial, where I go over how it works. So I don't have to explain how it works now. So watch that if you want to know how it works. Now, for here, I'm going to demonstrate a day trade. And by the way, I'm going to go with WEX as my exchange. Steen, I know, Steen, you gave me the red flag on that, but it's just the best thing. It's the only one I can come up with, really. I'm just going to have to take the chance with them, and I'm going to have to tell people about the red flags. But they're the only ones that I can open up a U.S. account with, pretty much. And I like everything else about their platform. So anyway, just that's a quick update on that. So maybe, soon I'll have that running. Now, to demonstrate this example with the Trade Scanner Pro, I'm going to start with my 1 hour chart on this side. In fact, I'm going to change the chart over to the Bitcoin perp futures, because that's what you would be trading. You don't want to do these. You don't want to do what I'm about to show you here with the spot market. The costs are too high. It just doesn't make sense, right, on the spot market. The futures markets make a lot more sense, and that was the whole purpose, right, of the futures markets, is for small time frame trades. The costs are relatively similar to other futures markets and all that stuff. The spread is also within reason. It's like a point. If you look at like CME futures, which I have for Bitcoin, the micro Bitcoin, the spread is ridiculous. I don't know what these people are thinking, and I don't know who trades that. I mean, for swing trades, I can see it, but for day trades, it's very hard to play that game when the spreads are very wide. You have to be really right, and when you're wrong, you lose like a lot. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So not a great instrument on the CME. But when you look at these perpetual futures contracts, the spread makes sense, the cost makes sense for day trades. Also, either way, no matter how you slice it, you don't want to overtrade, because no matter where you do it, it's going to be a problem, right? All right, any questions? I don't see any questions. So let's talk now about how we're going to come up with our trade idea. I have the hourly chart on this side. As you can see, this is my hourly chart. And then I'm going to switch this side over to my 1 minute chart, because that's where I'm going to take the trades on the 1 minute time frame. Or I may have to go smaller. I may have to do 30-second. I may have to do 15-second. We'll see. Now, the first thing I want to do with my larger time frame is just get my trade idea, because when you're using the Trade Scanner Pro, you must have a trade idea in mind first. It's not a forecasting tool. It is a management tool and a confirmation tool. But we have to have an idea to confirm. If we don't have an idea, then we're taking random signals. If signals pop up and we get excited, we take it, it's a random signal, right? Most likely. So we have to pick a side. That's what we use our 1 hour chart for when you're looking for day trades. Now, so here's my 1 hour chart. I'm going to make it bigger, all right, so we can see what's going on here. And what we're looking to identify here is the most recent momentum, and that's going to come from these candles right here. I don't need to go this far back to make that judgment. That would be more for swing trades, right? The further back I go, the larger magnitude I'm considering. I am not looking for a swing trade. I'm looking for a day trade, which means I want the most current momentum. That's going to be this. So that's pretty clear, I'd say. We have a lower high over here. We have a lower high over here. And we have a lower low in progress, right? And we have, it looks like we have a hesitation over here at the moment. But that is the momentum. It's clearly bearish. So I'm going to lean on the bearish side. I'm going to look for shorts for day trades. Does that make sense? If I'm confusing you at some point, just stop me, ask a question in the chat, and I'll address it. I guess this chart is good enough for you guys, huh? Is this chart big enough for you guys? Or do you want the chart bigger? You guys tell me. Now, so first we've identified our momentum. That's what this is, right? Bearish. The second thing we have to do is identify levels, support and resistance levels. We can go back a bit on the chart because that's where more data is important, right? Man, this is amazing. Usually these V-shaped recoveries, usually they mean strength, right? Unless they give it right back like this. So I'm looking back here. I'm looking back. There's really nothing for quite some time because we broke a pretty important level. That 90K level was a pretty significant break, right? So I have nothing in that range that I could work with anymore. So I have this, which is the 78K. I have this level right here, which is what? 82.9. So that's 83. We'll round that to 83. I have this level up in this area. Well, let's see. Do I have anything over here? I have something around here. And so notice what I'm doing. I'm looking at these reaction points and I'm looking for multiple touches. That's how I'm identifying these levels, especially these I don't know what to call these, like these behind the break reaction points. See how there's like a little reaction point here and then it breaks. So these tend to be very sticky, right? As you can see, price is hesitating right now at such a level. So those are my support levels and we happen to be at one. All right. Resistance levels. Let's look here. What do we have? We have this. We have this over here. It looks like we got something there. And we got something up here. Those are our resistance levels. That's it. My job is done. So now this is where I use my previous piece of information, the momentum, to judge how I should anticipate behavior at these levels. In bearish movements or bearish trends, support levels tend to break. They don't tend to hold. Resistance levels tend to hold in something that's bearish, right? Would you agree? And the opposite, if we had a bullish trend, support levels are more likely to hold. Resistance levels are more likely to break. So we know we're bearish. That means the support level is likely to break, not hold. So I shouldn't be excited about going long here. I should, and if I do go long, if I decide to go long because we're sitting on a support, and I'm going to look at the smaller time frame here in a moment, if I decide to go long, I need to be very limited as far as my expectations. And I should also be prepared to be wrong very quickly if I decide to go long. So the long side is very aggressive. The short side is going to be more conservative because I'm in line with the momentum. And that's the trade that should have more potential. Does that make sense? So this process of coming up with the idea and then the rationale for how I'm placing an expectation on these levels, These are the steps that you should go through every time before using the Trade Scanner Pro. We're not even looking at the Trade Scanner Pro yet. All I'm doing is coming up with my idea so that I can form some kind of general expectations. What should I expect at support? What should I expect at resistance? What is the trend? Those are the questions I'm answering. And the trend helps me expect something at support and resistance levels. So I'm only looking at two components. I don't have oscillators. I don't have this. I don't have that. I'm just using horizontal lines and I'm using the structure. It's very simple. When you day trade, you have to be as simple as possible. Now, with that said, let me know if you guys have questions. With that being said, let's jump over to our 1 minute, because the 1 minute is going to be where we take action. Now, so the blue lines that I just drew on my hourly chart are going to show up on this chart too. So as we know, there's support there. Interesting. Double bottom. Interesting. Okay. Right now we have a pin bar developing on the 1 minute. Okay. Interesting. If you, these red columns are warnings for potential sell signals, right? Those are called heads up. That's something that you could set on your control panel with the Trade Scanner Pro, right? I have all the settings set over here. The trailing stop, blah, 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 right? That's all explained in the tutorial video. So there obviously was a trade over here. How much was that? Was that a profit? Yeah, it was a 690 point profit. Okay, interesting. On the 1 minute chart. And it looks like we're trying to develop a reversal here. We have the higher low off of this support. Interesting. Okay. So now I have to think about this for a moment. Do I want to work with the shorts or do I want to work with the longs? Right now, this thing is set. If you look at here, it says trend is bearish. This thing is looking for shorts. That's the mode that it's in. Trend following mode. That's its standard mode. If I want to look for longs, I have to switch to counter trend mode because I have to go against this trend, right? So I don't know. Is this trend really going to turn around here? It's possible. What time is it? Okay, it's 3:30. So the stock market's still open. We are at a significant support. If I'm going to play counter trend, this is pretty much the place I should be doing it, at a support level, compared to being in the middle, right? I've talked about this in previous streams. If you're not near a support or a resistance, that's usually when you want to go in line with whatever the market's telling you, whatever the momentum is. But in this case, we're sitting on the support. Now, like I just said, the support is likely to break and all that other stuff. So I have to be very careful, right, with a long, but I'm going to consider the long side. So I'm going to turn counter trend on. And the primary prompt for that, though, is the level. Now, notice there's a trade. Looks like there's a trade that's in progress right now in counter trend mode. Look at this. Now, I'm not going to jump in, but there happened to be a trade here. The trade started back here. Interesting. I'm going to leave this blue line because that's our support level. This blue line is the entry price. Looks like the trailing stop has been in play for quite some time here, at least 10, 15 minutes, right? And this trade has been, the risk on this trade has been cut in half, it looks like. Interesting. What is the risk on this thing now? The risk was, initially the risk was 600. I'm going to round that to 600 points. That's kind of a lot for a 1 minute chart. But the risk now, because of the trailing stop, is 293 points. So it got cut in half. It went from 600 to 300. All right, that's good to know. My profit objective is up here. Now, price is pulling back a bit. All right. Now, here's the thing. This trade, these order suggestions, they're going to stay open until either the trailing stop is touched or the stop is touched or the objective is touched if I turn the trailing stop off. So this is going to stay on my chart. All right. I don't want to sit here and watch this thing for a while. I really don't want to. I may have to go to a smaller time frame. Now, here's another thing we can do. If we retest the entry price, which is this blue line right here, maybe we go below it and maybe we turn right around. I'll take that as a trade. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn on my trade panel, because this is a paper trade, by the way. And I'm going to see if I could buy two. I should be able to. 2 coins. Now, one thing I have to point out. with paper trades. 2 coins is a lot of money. So this paper trade account only has like $1,000 in it. I think less now because I was messing around. And let me see. What does this have? $500. Okay, so I may not even be able to afford 2 coins. I'll have to put 1 coin on. I have to reset the account. Now, if this was real money, I would not be buying 2 coins, 2 full coins. I would be buying fractions of a coin. Remember, the idea was to trade $1,000 account. So if I was using $1,000 of real money and I was going to do multiple units, multiple positions, meaning 2, 3, whatever, 2, 3 lots, I would have to use like a fraction of Bitcoin. So it'd probably be like 1/16 or 1/32. They're going to be very small positions because I don't want to over leverage the $1,000 account. So a great profit. So you think about, okay, so what kind of profit you're talking about? What kind of loss you're talking about? Realistically, on $1,000 account, I'm risking maybe $40 or $50, which is a lot percentage wise. I mean, it's going to be tough to stick to like 2% on $1,000 account. So it's going to be a little bit wider. And a good win, right? A good winning situation would be 30, 40, 50, maybe $100. If I could get $100, that's 10% of $1,000 account in one trade. So understand, like those are very risky numbers, but on $1,000 account, you don't have much of a choice really. You could trade smaller, but you also want the money to be somewhat significant, right? So the other way around that is you put more money in the account. But we're talking about $1,000 idea here, $1,000 account, right? And that's what this practice account was originally set for. And I cut it in half. So, but hey, it's on paper. That's what happens when you experiment. I should have just reset it. But anyway, all right. So let's see if we could work with this $500 theoretical account here. And like I said, I'd like to do this with real money. So, but for now, it's still on paper. Usually I do this at 4 p.m., which is usually a really bad time of day. But right now, we still got like, 25 minutes of the stock market being open. Stock market open means volume should be generally better and momentum should be more likely to follow through compared to taking trades at 4:30 p.m. Does that make sense? That's very important. For day trades, time of day is extremely important. The best time for Bitcoin, in my opinion, would be the market open, or like 8 a.m. to like 10 a.m. Eastern time. That's probably the best time because that's when you're getting the most action out of the NASDAQ and the S&P, and this thing follows, especially the NASDAQ. They're like cousins. So, all right, I'm watching this because what I'm watching for here is to see if we can retest this line. Because I was too busy talking when the trade came into play, right? I wasn't even looking at this chart. Here we are, we're retesting the line. Now remember, Bitcoin is not strong, and I'm considering the long side. So right off the bat, I'm asking for trouble. Let's just keep that in mind. All right, so I'm going to be a little more conservative with the entry. We're at the line. Now, if we can get a green candle off the line, I'll give it a try. If this trade fails, and we just break lower or whatever, then I'm going to switch back to the short side because this thing we've determined earlier that this thing's generally a short. The only reason why I'm experimenting or considering the long side is because we have this support here. Now, keep in mind, I haven't taken any trades yet. We're just watching it and we're just talking about an idea. Here's our heads up. Look how close we are to the trailing stop. Interesting, right? All right. So here we go. We got the heads up. That means in the next couple of candles, I'm likely to get a signal on the 1 minute. That's not bad. If we get the signal, I'll take it long. I'm going to take one contract. Usually we have to wait for a couple of closes. So if we're going to see the signal, it's probably going to take a minute or two. That's what the heads up means. If this was an hourly chart and we saw this, that means a signal would be likely to develop or appear in the next couple of hours. That's an important point. So you don't sit here and watch this chart for a few hours. You don't do that. What you do instead is you use the TradingView notification system. You just right click, right? And there's you just click on this over here, and then you can just pick the Trade Scanner Pro off this list. And then you just click the button here to get it going. And what it will do is whenever a signal pops up or a stop is touched, one of those scenarios, or even a heads up appears, you'll get a notification from TradingView. And that's how you want to deal with this, especially when you're dealing with 5-minute, 15-minute, 30-minute charts, whatever the time frame, your action time frame is. You don't want to sit there and watch. You want to use those notifications. That's a very important point. When I'm doing this here without notifications because I plan to sit in front of the screen and take the trades as I see them. Now, I would like to do this again with real money. So I'm working on that. Hopefully I'll have that soon. Look, we're going to the trailing stop. Okay, no problem. I never took a trade. Remember what I said before, the support is likely to break. Looks like that's happening. All right, no problem. Trend is bearish. I'm getting out of counter trend mode. Back into trend mode. Now, in trend mode, right, all the heads up went away. Are we going to hold here? Oh, maybe we're going to hold. Hold on. So notice, I'm not taking positions. I'm not in a hurry to take positions, but I can adjust my thought process constantly. That's being able to adjust and quickly is a key skill, if you want to call it that, of being a day trader, because things change so fast. Like this thing looks like it wants to break, but it may not break. Let's see. Clearly, there's some support right there, right? That's the double bottom on the 1 minute. And it's in this general supportive area where that blue line is. All right. So maybe we're still inside the support area. I'll give it one more chance. I have nothing to lose. I haven't taken any trades, so it's not like I'm stuck in anything. But if we break this in the next couple of candles or whatever, then I'm going to switch back to trend mode because lower high, lower low. But maybe we hold here and I'll give it a try. Maybe look at all the heads up we're getting. We got 3 heads up candles. That's what these green columns represent. So maybe we get that signal in the next candle or so. Let's see. Otherwise, if we break this and we close like with a pretty decent sized red candle, which it looks like that's very likely, then I'll switch back to trend mode and we will look for shorts. But I want to make sure we clear the support before I start looking for shorts. I don't want to short the bottom and then have this thing run in my face. You guys following me so far? Any questions about this? Do you understand the concept of supports are more likely to break in this scenario? Do you understand that? And do you understand how I'm still willing to go against that if the market can prove itself? I'm willing to give it a try. But you see, I'm not in a hurry though. I'm not being aggressive. If this was a bullish situation, if our trend was bullish and we had a situation like this, I'd be all over it. As soon as a signal popped up, I'd be in it because that's ideal for bullish. This is not ideal for bullish. The double bottom and all that stuff, yeah, that is, but the general trend is not. So that's where you have to separate the two. You want bullish setup in bullish trend. I'm looking for bullish setup in bearish trend. So it's going to be a lower probability, the trade itself. Let me know if you guys find that confusing. All right, cool. Now, so while we're waiting here, if you want to check out the Trade Scanner Pro, there's a link in the description. That link will take you to a page. This signal is going to pop up. I'm going to wait for this. But, there's a link in the description. You can try it out for 14 days for free. And you can experiment with it. Remember, it's a management and confirmation tool. One of the problems with the Trade Scanner Pro is it's hard for beginners to understand the best way to use it. So it's going to take me some time, but I'm working on some tutorial videos on that so that at least you'll have some reference videos to watch that can help you. Short videos, like between 5 and 10 minutes. Even though I demonstrate each week on these streams, people aren't going to go back and watch 90-minute streams or watch whatever. It's just too much. I understand, like it's too much trouble. So I'm working on that. It's just a very slow process. Because understand, I trade during the day. I don't sit around and make content like some of these other people. I actually trade and participating in the markets is not only mentally exhausting, but it's also can be very time consuming. Plus, I have other things I have to do. So again, I'm competing with people who they just make content all day. They don't even trade. All right, so I'm waiting for this signal. I'm still open to the long. I want to see the signal. That's the whole point of having confirmation. Look at all this heads up. Look at all this green column. All right, I like to see that. It's something. But we still may break. So anyone have any questions? What do you guys think so far? Maybe you guys don't agree with me. Maybe you guys, no, this is a short. You can argue with me. It's okay. That's good to have debate. That's how we learn. I could be wrong. I'm just trying to be patient here. That signal is likely to appear, and I want to buy this thing if the signal appears. There it is. All right, now, all right, I'm going to buy it. Will it let me buy it? What happened? Okay, there it is. Got it. All right, so I just got long. Will it let me buy a second one? It may not. Maybe I don't want a second one. Let's see. I'm going to try. Yeah, let me buy. Okay, I got it. I got two of them. All right. Not the best price in the second one, right? Because I waited a little bit there. But that's what I want to see, right? Now, this is generally a support area. This is a failed low situation. I don't know if it's going to make it very far. We'll have to see because, again, I'm fighting the bigger picture. So I'm preparing here to sell one early because I know what I'm fighting. Okay, I know this is not a high probability trade, and I know that in advance because we've determined that. I want to see this candle close green. All right. Now this next candle should break higher. Like the next candle should be breaking this point here if it's going to be strong, or at least if this momentum is going to continue. That's what it should be doing. I don't know if the market's going to do that. Remember, at this point, I've made my determination, and now I'm using the Trade Scanner Pro to help me manage the trade. If this trade goes my way, and it goes my way for a little while, the trailing stop will appear. And then really at that point, there's no more thinking for me to do. It's either we touch the trailing stop, we touch the profit objective, and that's it. That's how simple it becomes if you can use this tool effectively. It just takes some practice. You have to give it some time. You're not going to get it like the first time. Now, what's the risk on this thing? 464 points. That's a lot of risk for a 1-minute chart, especially having two coins on. That's like almost $1,000 loss if I get tapped out on that stop, if this thing goes straight to the stop, and it can do it. All right, so if we can just pop a little further, I like the candles, right? We broke this area like I was hoping. Now, let's see if we can just get this thing going. If this candle turns red, which it can do, I'm going to take one. I'm just going to bang one out early because we may not make it to the profit objective. I just want to bang one out early just to keep my risk under control. That's it, right? That's why I have two. And I'm fighting the trend. Remember that. If this was a bullish trend and all that stuff was lined up, then I would hold on. I'd be like, yeah, this thing should, make new highs. But I don't have that confidence in this thing. See what I mean? Let the candle close. Now, this is a 1 minute. It's not even as erratic as a 15-second or 30-second chart, and it's still wild. Okay, so no good. Bang one out. Okay, banged one out because I just want to keep my risk under control. So I took the profit on that one early. Now, we may find some support sooner. I may have banged out early, but whatever. I know this is a low probability trade, so I'm going to be very conservative with it. I'm going to be very reactive. Whereas, like I said, if I was on the side of the trend, see what I mean? But it's okay. That's why I still have one. If I was on the side of the trend, I would be much more relaxed with it. Does that make sense? So it's all, notice my mentality, like notice what I'm emphasizing and how I'm adjusting because of the situation. What happens in situations like this right? The failed low is, it looks like a short. Breakout traders jump in because they think this thing is going to sell off another 1,000 points. They get caught because it's not really selling off. There's my trailing stop. They get caught, and then this is what happens. Now, if they get squeezed hard, then what happens typically is price gets up here. If they get squeezed really hard. Sometimes the squeeze doesn't go on for very long, but when this occurs like this, that's what's happening. They get caught. They shouldn't have been shorting that low because there was a support there. You may say, well, how come some breakouts work and some don't? Well, sometimes it has to do with where's the breakout occurring. And yes, I said before, the support is more likely to break, but you could have justified taking that breakout. But the thing is, when you get a situation like this and it turns in your face right away, got to get out of that. Because you're risking shorting a potential bottom. That's the problem with that. So like if I had shorted that low, I'd probably be getting out right now. At least out of some of it. All right, so let's see what happens. I'm trying to hold on to this long to see if we can reach the profit objective. Now, my trailing stop is now in play. My risk is slightly reduced. But, this thing may touch the trailing stop. I don't know. That's why I locked in profit on one. Because price action is very random. And I can't judge every candle. This is just noise. And this can be very tricky. So you saw how they banged me out of one. I reacted to that one. And then it looked ugly again. And now look, it's looking good again. So I just wanted to reduce my risk because I'm not confident on the long side of this thing right now. But if the market wants to continue to support the idea and the trailing stop gets up to break even eventually, then at that point, I really have nothing else to worry about. Does that make sense? So do you see like how this tool can help you? The idea behind the tool is to reduce the decision-making process, to simplify it. So you don't have to sit there and go, what do I do here? Is this a short? Is this a long? Is this thing turning? Is this a trend? Like you shouldn't have to constantly be asking those questions after you're in the trade. After you're in the trade, it's like, okay, we either go to the stop, the trailing stop, or the profit objective. There's really no questions after that. If you want to be fancy like me, right? I banged out a little early, took a little profit. That's because I'm just using some experience on that one. But if I had not done that, I'd still be in the trade. The trade hasn't stopped out yet. I just know to reduce my risk in these situations. It's just usually a better idea. Look at the formation that we have here, right? So this is generally a double bottom situation. Generally, on the 1 minute. So let's do this too. While we're at it, let's take a look. What's happening on the hourly chart? And what time is it? Okay, so it's almost 4 o'clock. So the stock market's going to be closing soon. I mean, so Bitcoin is just sitting on this support. Just sitting there. That's the support level that I bought from. So remember, I went into counter trend mode because we were on the support level. If we were not on the support level, if instead, and I just want to point this out, if instead we were up here at the time, I would not have put on counter trend mode. I'd be in trend mode. And at that midpoint, I would just go with the momentum. But we had a specific level that we were sitting on, right? Which we identified before I took the trade. Does that make sense? So that's why I always resort back to structure and levels. If I was not paying attention to the levels and I had no idea that there was a support there, I probably would have been shorting right into that. And who knows, the short may still work, but there's obviously some trouble here. There's obviously some conflict. And because of that brief conflict, I was able to at least take a little something out of it. Sometimes these reversals are very dramatic, and sometimes they're not. It's random. There's no way to know, like if this thing is going to be spectacular or not. All I can do is lean on the probability. And based on my context that we've determined earlier, which is very simple to determine, I should be leaning on the short side, or at least I should be expecting more from the short side. The market wants to fight it right now. Okay, no problem. There's a little conflict going on. But I still know that short side can resume at any moment. Especially we know at like at 4 o'clock, there's usually some kind of jump. There's something called market on close, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with. I don't know if that I really don't know if that applies to Bitcoin, but Bitcoin may be affected by it. It actually, theoretically, it should not apply to Bitcoin because market on close is typically for the indices like S&P, where people have orders in the market that have to get filled, and so they have these market on close orders. And at 10 to 4, 10 minutes before the market closes, all these orders come to the market. That's why you see these unusual jumps at 10 to 4 or 350. You see these strange jumps on the charts and price spikes and volume spikes. So Bitcoin may be affected by that, even though Bitcoin does not close at 4 o'clock. So I don't know how you'd place a market on close on Bitcoin at that time. But Bitcoin price does have a relationship with the stock market. So maybe there's an effect there. I'm just guessing. But we do see strange behavior at 4 o'clock. Usually some kind of weird jump or some kind of on Bitcoin. We've seen it plenty of times on the stream. Hey, Alex from Romania. How are you? Good to see you. I love Alex from Romania. All right. How's everything in Romania these days? I hear they let the Tate brothers leave. Whenever I think of Romania, I'm sorry, that's who I think about because they've made Romania so popular. They're in Miami now, or in wherever, Fort Lauderdale. They're in Florida. It's all over YouTube. All right. Yeah, they left. Now I have no reason to talk about Romania anymore. I doubt they're coming back. They're like, oh yeah, they're going to come back for the court case. I don't know. Something. That's what they're saying. Something. I'm surprised those guys have that kind of connection. I was a little surprised about that. I was a little surprised. Maybe I shouldn't be. I don't know. But they're probably not going back to Romania. Maybe they'll put their house for sale. Maybe, Alex, you could buy their house. They have that funky house over there. Maybe. That's very possible. Yeah, I know. I don't know. I know there was some talk, like the administration was talking to I don't know, was it the foreign minister? I don't know. There was something about that. That's how I get my news. I see like it's on my news feed on YouTube. That's where I get my news from. Sometimes I don't even watch the videos. I just look at the headline. So anyway, nice trade so far while we're talking about Romania. Maybe I should talk about Romania more often. All right. So maybe we can get to that profit objective. My risk has now been slightly better than half. My trailing stop has moved. So my trailing stop now is, let's see, my risk right now in this trade is 170, 180 points. Man, that's still a lot. That's because of these wild moves, right? Usually on a 1 minute chart, risk can be around like 50 to 100 points. We're looking at 400 point risk. That's typically on 15-minute charts or larger. But again, wide moves in the market, they change everything, right? These are all relative to the price movements. That's how the Trade Scanner Pro calculates this stuff. All right. What are your thoughts on Bitcoin futures gap? It's filled now. What gap are you referring to, Hussein? Futures gap? Because I don't see a gap on this chart. What gap do you mean? Typically, when you have gaps, there's a tendency for the market to want to fill the gap. Gaps usually act as support or resistance levels as well. So if I see a gap, which I don't see one on this chart, so I'm not sure which one you're referring to. Maybe you can be more specific. But when I see a gap, I keep it in mind that we may see like there may be that tendency may unfold, but I don't count on it. I don't bet on it. Between Friday's close and today's open. Oh, UTXO. Okay. What time frame can I see that on? Maybe I could see that like on what time frame? Because Friday's close. Let's look back here. I don't see a gap. Are you talking about the CME futures? You have to, I was going to say, okay. So you could use that as a reference point if you want. I don't, the problem with that is it's the CME only. Meanwhile, the entire world of Bitcoin has been all over the place since then, right? If you go to any futures, any decentralized or centralized futures exchange, there are no gaps on these charts. So if you want to use that as a point of reference, I mean, I don't even know if I put that on here, maybe I should be able to see it. Let's see. So let's see, Bitcoin. Do I have the CME on here, or do I have to type in? Oh, here it is, right here. Bitcoin futures. Okay. Oh, here you go. Right. So that's the thing. So this is the gap. You said it filled. All right. Maybe that helps the argument. But the thing is, this is not truly a gap. It's only in the eyes of the CME. There's plenty of business done in this area. Plenty of business done on all the other exchanges. So it's not like the CME does all of the volume. So that's why I wouldn't really give this a lot of weight. But if you want to look at the bottom of the gap and the top of the gap, I guess this would be the gap, and you just closed it. If you want to use those points as reference points, also notice there is some support in the area here generally. So it lines up with the gap support if you want to use that as a reference. But I wouldn't put a lot of weight on it, all right, to answer your question. So that's a good question. Thanks for bringing that up. Don't be blind just to the CME stuff. Because the CME is not like the main player here. And their futures markets are horrendous. Like I was saying before, they're not practical for day trades and all that. Because trust me, I tried. All right. So does that make sense? All right. So look, we're beyond the profit objective. This is nice to see. And not only that, but my trailing stop is now above my entry price. So this trade theoretically is risk-free. Now I'm going to let it run. Remember what I said before about the shorts? Now look, we're testing this high. Okay, great. Is there any way we could have anticipated that Bitcoin was going to bounce from that level and then run up to here? I could not. There's no way I would have known that it was coming. Don't you think in the beginning I would have been, oh, we're going right up to here, guys? I have no idea how far this thing's going to go. All I can say is it's a good thing I wasn't shorting the bottom. And when we first came onto the stream here, we talked about how Bitcoin is generally bearish. But you see how I adjusted, right? What the key factor for this trade was the fact that we were at this major support level that we were able to identify on the larger time frame. Do you see how important that is? So let's see. Wow, how much am I up there? I'm up a decent amount on paper. And so now I have some flexibility here. I can let this thing ride. I can get out and take the profit objective, right? If we go back there, I can use that and just get out, just take my profit objective. I can try to let it run further and use the trailing stop as my exit, which I'm risking more in that situation. So you want to know something? Because the general trend is still bearish. I mean, the general trend hasn't changed yet. This could just be noise. I'm probably going to be faster to take my profit. So let's see how this candle, let's see how much time we have for this candle. All right, this candle is going to close right now. Let's see what the next candle looks like. If the next candle gives me green, because this is an inside bar, if the next candle breaks the high of this candle, I'll try to give it a chance. If the next candle closes red, which looks like it's going to do, then I may just blow it out. Let's see at the time what it looks like. And the reason why I'm being more sensitive like that is because, remember, this thing is not exactly strong. So the chances of giving back this entire move are pretty decent. I don't want to give it back. So I have to be a little more protective here because I'm counter trend. Does that make sense? Why I'm being more proactive and more conservative? because I'm against the trend. And I have to constantly remind myself of that. So I consider a move like this, I consider this like a gift because, the market's generally weak. And we're seeing this nice little recovery here. All right, so we're trying to bounce off the profit objective. Let's see if it can do it. The candle closed red. I don't like to see that. And again, I'm being conservative because the trend is not exactly in my favor. Now, the trailing stop is also nearby. I want to see this thing, like this candle needs to like bounce green. Like it needs to give me like a green close. How much time do we have? 30 seconds. All right, I'll give it 30 more seconds. You realize in 30 seconds, this candle can expand and tap that trailing stop like in an instant. I've seen it happen. So, but maybe we get like a reversal candle here or something. I'll give it that chance, but I'm not going to give it much more of a chance than that. See, we're getting like the reversal candle. I'll tell you, it's funny. I said before, Bitcoin and like the NASDAQ are cousins. Bitcoin's a lot easier to trade than the NASDAQ. Man, I wish the NASDAQ was not as noisy, like as clean as this. The NASDAQ, have you ever traded NASDAQ on a 1 minute chart? It's nuts. Like the noise is just ridiculous at times. Like Bitcoin is like, this thing moves like snail poop compared to the NASDAQ. It's so slow. All right, that's a pin bar type candle, but no good. Goodbye. All right, that's it. I'm out. So I gave it a chance. It may reverse green now. It may reverse. I don't care. I gave it a chance. I got out near the profit objective. I don't like the red candle developing because this is counter trend. I'm fighting the trend. And I don't want to give it all the way. I don't want to give it back. So let's just take a quick look what that was all worth. So we'll go to the account history. So my first trade was 192. I have like commissions being calculated on here. My second trade was 525. All right. That second trade was like at 8 something at the peak. So, and it may go back up there. See, I was a little too conservative, but whatever. I still took the profit because I'd rather be more careful than let greed drive my decisions. Trust me, I've made those mistakes many times. Like, oh, I'm going to hold this because this thing is going to go way higher and I'm going to hold on to it. And then I watch it melt away. So I'd rather just take the money and not watch it melt away. If this was a bullish situation, that'd be another story. All right, so make sense? So we got to see a nice example of a trade. Now, look, we'll watch the trade. Let's see how the trade unfolds. I got out basically just under the profit objective. Let's see how the trade unfolds. This would have been nice to have seen. It comes out now, of course, after I'm out. It's just after 4 o'clock. So let's see how this unfolds. Let's see how far this thing goes before it touches the trailing stop. So the market could rub it in my face that I got out too early. Let's see. But hey, that happens all the time. All the time, especially to me. But I just, like I said, over time, I've learned. I mean, you could make arguments that, oh, you should have just held it. Yeah, I understand. But I like to take profits in situations where I believe my probability is not in my favor. There are times to be aggressive and to let things run. And to me, this is just not one of those times. Now, if I was short, if this thing gave me a short, now I'm on the side of the bigger picture, and this thing is pushing lows, that's another story. Now I'm aligned, right? So now I can give it a chance. Now I could be more aggressive. It makes sense to be more aggressive in that scenario, but not in this scenario, although it looks nice right now. Make sense, you guys? All right. Let me know if you have any questions. So we're going to wait a few minutes. We're going to watch this. I'm probably not going to take another trade, especially this time of day. That was I got away with a nice one there without having to get stopped out first. Usually I take a stop or two before I catch the move. And notice, this is the 1 minute. I never even had to resort to the 30-second or the 15-second today. Nice, right? And this was the only trade. There was this one back here, and then I happened to catch this one. So just notice how it came together. After a trade like this, you walk away. There's no reason to continue. You made some money, you're done, especially on this time frame. You're done. That's how you keep your costs low. Does that make sense? So let's take a quick look at our hourly chart again. What's happening? Nothing. Look, that's hardly even a bounce. Look at this. That's not a bounce. This is not. This is just noise. A bounce would look like this. This is what a bounce would look like. That's a bounce. That's like a serious bounce. This is nothing yet. Maybe it'll eventually evolve into that, but this is not really a bounce. So I'm happy to take the little bite that I can. Hey, Guillermo, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name. Gualmi, what are the best times of day to make these type of trades? Great question. For Bitcoin, it's the stock market open, right? 8 a.m. to basically 10 a.m. The stock market opens at 9:30. So 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. in my opinion, or 8 a.m. to like 12 p.m. Eastern time is when you're going to get typically this type of momentum. That's what you need. Without momentum, this tool is useless. And so is most things, unless you're like working the range. But as soon as that range breaks out, you get caught. Trust me, I've done it. So yeah, you want for day trades, time of day, best time, I'd say 8 a.m. till about 12 p.m. And there's usually some volume into the stock market close, like was what we saw here. Because I started here at like 3:30. Usually I start way after that. Right now, the stock market's closed, so we're going to see volume dry up, and this is going to get really like quiet and boring. Does that make sense? Now, compared to swing trades, when you swing trade, there's really no time of day when it comes to a swing trade. That you're really more relying on the levels and the confirmation, because you're going to be in trades a lot longer. You're going to be in trades for maybe days or hours. So time of day is not going to be as important for a swing trade. Usually you're in the trade, and then when the market open comes along, like the Euro Open or the US Open, that's when the momentum comes in, and that's when your trade develops. But the signal may come in during a quiet time for swing trades. Day trades, you want to stick around the market opens. You can also consider the Euro Open, right? The London Open. That's also a decent time because, again, volume comes into the market. So what is that, 3 a.m. Eastern time? So 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., going into noon Eastern time, there's plenty of volume pockets. You can call them volume pockets in there because you have these markets opening and volume coming into the market. Where there's volume, there's momentum, usually. Make sense? How do you pronounce your name? Gilami? Giami? I'm sorry. I know I'm American. Giami. Giami, cool. Where are you from, Giami? Is that French? Because Steen is my French expert here. He speaks French, so he can translate for me. Oh, cool. All right. Giami. You know, it's interesting. I've been getting some messages from, like I had a guy on TradingView, and he sent me a message, and he said to me, you know, you should translate your analysis into French, and then you should share it on the French TradingView. And I was like, well, how would I do that? And you just go to ChatGPT, you paste your thing in there, it'll translate it to French, and then you just paste it into your TradingView thing. And I was like, oh, I'll think about that, because it's just for me, I don't mind. It's just a workflow thing for me, because I got enough things on my plate, and it's like another task I got to do. So I haven't gotten around to doing that, but I thought it was interesting. And I also spoke to there was a guy at a networking event I went to recently. Friend, he described himself as the French guy, and I spoke to him recently too. He was in Miami, the French guy, my French connection in Miami. All right. So far, me getting out of that trade was not a good idea based on the price action here. Look, the price action continues to stabilize above the profit objective. Look, we're consolidating. Notice what's happening. We're forming into a triangle. See the triangle? Actually, I don't need to do that with a ray. I'll just look at this. See it? We're breaking it. See that? So I should have stayed long. I should have listened to the trade scanner. Triangles like that are typically momentum continuation patterns. So this is likely to continue. Now, I'm not going to take a new trade based on that. Notice I'm not jumping into a trade, but if I was in that long still, this would be a very welcome pattern to see. Look, they banged me out over here. I got out over here because, I'm captain conservative over here. I got out right at the worst part of that move. And so far, we haven't even gone back to it. We haven't even tested this level. These are minor levels, by the way. But I'm being conservative, like I said before, because of the nature of this environment. Now, my trailing stop, nice. If I was still in this trade, how much would I have given back if we go to the trailing stop? Let's see. That's 500 points. If I was still in this trade and I said, okay, I'm going to hold on for the trailing stop, as beautiful as this looks right now, if this thing pulls back to the trailing stop, I'm giving back like 573 points. So I'd rather not give that back. That's a lot of points. That's why I was so quick to get out here. Because you realize this can fail right now and turn back and touch this thing in just two or 3 minutes. It can do it. Some nonsense news comes out or some dumb thing comes out. We're also messing around this little resistance here. Interesting that people are probably getting squeezed and they're shorting this thing. Usually when you get this type of pattern, you got people shorting it because they're all looking at this and it's not working. And they're getting squeezed. So now you have the triangle breakout. That's nice. It's too bad I'm not long anymore. I'm just going to watch it. I want to see where the market gets this thing out, like where the Trade Scanner Pro gets this trade out and how much profit it would have been worth. The profit objective was 718 points. That was the profit objective. Right now, from the entry, this thing is worth 1,168 points. If I were still in that and I got out now, that's over 1,000 points. By the way, these numbers are a little high. They're exaggerated. And the reason why is because all that recent movement has created an expansion in the average true range. That's what the Trade Scanner Pro, the average true range is an important function within the Trade Scanner Pro. It considers that formula. So when the average true range expands, all these numbers are going to expand. Typically on a 1-minute chart, you don't see 1,000 points on a 1-minute chart. Usually you don't see that. Usually that's more like maybe 5-minute, 15-minute in a more regular environment. Does that make sense? So it's important to consider. That's why it's nice to have the Trade Scanner Pro define all these levels for you so you know what you're dealing with. This was basically a 500 point risk. That's a lot of risk. So you adjust for that with smaller sizing. That's the only way. Smaller position sizes. Because these levels are relevant to the market action. That's how they're generated, so that you don't have to come up with random levels. These levels are not random in the sense that market information had to generate them. So they're native to the market. They're not some arbitrary number that you just pick out of nowhere. All right. Any questions? Any questions so far? How do you guys like the way my screen is set up, or you prefer my screen to be bigger? Because when I get my new software running, it's going to kind of be formatted something like this, where I'm going to be a little bit bigger. My screen is also going to be a little bit bigger. Well, it's going to be more proportional. Like I'm in this screen over here. Like I can zoom in and make it bigger like that. I can turn this off. I'm not going to use this right now. Do you think we're in a bear market or bullish for the rest of the year? Well, that's a good question. Like I was saying before, and if you read my analysis on TradingView, I don't believe we're bearish yet. I mean, I can go over that real quick here. I don't believe we're bearish yet. So don't be fooled by this recent action. I just think, or maybe over the next week or so, yes, I think we're gonna see some bearish action. In fact, I pointed out at the beginning of the stream, the fact that we gave back that entire bullish move yesterday established a lower high right here, right? That's a lower high now. So lower high means we're likely to see, it increases the probability that we see a lower low, or at least test of low, and that's 78K. That test can happen in the next few days, week, whatever, right? This is a pretty massive move when it gives it all back so quickly. That means momentum is bearish. So I would anticipate that test. But as far as general trend breaking, no, not yet. In order for me to say the general trend is now bearish, for me to say that, we're going to have to clear 65K. And that's because that would confirm for me that this consolidation that we've been in since like back here, what is this? What is that? November? Basically, this consolidation, let me erase some of these lines so that it's a little more clear. Here, I'm going to get this. I'll leave those. But this consolidation going from there to up here, the 109 high, that I was considering as a wave 4, which means the next wave would be wave 5, and that could be a very bullish wave. That's where all those guys saying, oh, 200K, blah, 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 at least more than 109, that's where that scenario would be plausible. So the fact that we established the lower high and that we can test that low, even if we test the low and we break to 73K, even then, I would still consider this just part of the consolidation on the big picture. Not the small picture. Don't confuse the two. The small picture is bearish. The big picture, not yet. We need to clear 65K, right? Where is that? 65K is like here. 65K is there. If we clear that, then we're changing. What may be happening if we clear that number is we may be just in a larger range, not necessarily bearish on the big picture. Right? Because all it means is wave 4 overlaps wave 1, which means the entire impulse structure just gets canceled out, and we're in some kind of like corrective situation where we could see a consolidation for a while. That's what I would be thinking. But again, who knows? This idea that I'm getting here is coming strictly from the levels and the chart. News can change things very quickly. So that's why I can't forecast the future. I don't pretend to. I don't know where we're going to be. Like I'm not one of those guys that says, in 1 year, we're going to be here. Like so many people like to do. They do it for attention. They know that no one knows where the market will be. No, look, how many people were calling at the 109 high? How many people were calling for 200K? Bitcoin, 1.2 million, blah, 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 blah. How come no one was saying in a few months we're going to be testing 78K? Was anyone saying that? Not the fake gurus that I watch. No one was saying 78K. And I wasn't saying it either because I have no idea. I was saying that 90K is a major range low. And if we test 90K, it's a good place to look for longs. And if 90K breaks, we're going to see problems. That's what I have been saying. So we broke the 90K and we saw problems. And we retested it basically. And I thought 90K would hold again, and it cleaned right through it. And it's basically acting as a resistance now. So the best I can say is 78K retest is likely. Maybe we go slightly lower. Maybe said we hold 73, which is the previous all-time high. Maybe we hold that, and maybe we can turn around there. That would be a failed low, maybe. And we stay inside this broader range. Or we break. If we break and we start messing around those 60s, if that happens, then I just readjust my analysis. That's all we can do. Make sense? All right, how's this trade coming along here? This trade is still open. It is, but look, it looks like it's going to get closed. Look at this. The trailing stop moved up to my profit objective. I got out here. Remember, guys, I got out over here. So even if I went through all that, like, oh, look how cool I am. Look, I'm making millions of dollars. If I was going to give it to the chance of the trailing stop, I would have gotten out at the same price anyway. Right? So that's the random nature of the market. If I had held longer, maybe I would have had the opportunity to get out for plus 1,000 points, whatever. But you have to know to take that. Like, you have to just be proactive and take the money randomly. And if you don't want to do that and just rely on the Trade Scanner Pro, well, here's your exit point. Now, it hasn't touched it yet. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe it reverses and makes the new high. But remember, the general trend, as we determined first thing, as our first step, is bearish. So this price action here isn't that surprising. But I managed to take a long, and I got away with some money. That's the best I can do. Like, I'm very happy with that. That's how you use the Trade Scanner Pro. You don't jump into random signals. You don't go to like a 5-second chart and just take tons of signals, because most of them are random. You have to have an idea. So just to recap before I wrap this up, because I think we pretty much saw what's going on here. Okay, the trade is still active, or theoretically it's still active, although I'm not in it. It's just nice to watch. Remember, I came up with the long idea because we determined that there was a support in that area. And the support came from the bigger picture. It wasn't like a 1-minute support. The support came from the hourly chart. So that's a very important point. We were sitting on the support. It wasn't like we were like 200 points away from it. We were like on it. I switched to counter trend mode because my general trend was bearish and the Trade Scanner Pro was in trend mode, which it's in, and it's still bearish. So the only way I can get a long trade is if I switch to counter trend mode. That's what counter trend mode was meant for. And it's best used at support or resistance levels where you're anticipating a reversal. But if you're going against that trend, on the bigger picture, just understand it's a lower probability trade with lower potential. That's the way you have to think it. Whether it unfolds that way or not, that's the best way to go with it, because you're still aligning yourself with the general market intent. There's going to be times when it works and it doesn't work, but if you're generally aligned with the intent, it should work in your favor more often than not. Right? It's like playing poker and getting certain hands on poker and knowing how to play those hands, because over 1,000 hands, over 1,000 games, there's a certain percentage of winning again with a certain hand. Certain hands have a better percentage of winning than other hands. But that's over 1,000 hands. That's over a lot of iterations. So this works the same way. Even though trade by trade, it's not going to work out smoothly at times. Make sense? Okay. This is especially important when you're dealing with faster markets like the NASDAQ, which I noticed there's a lot of interest in these days. I remember years ago, like I would be like, who trades futures? No one trades futures, because futures were harder to understand. They required more leverage. You required more money in your account, all that other stuff. No one would trade futures, but it all changed, I noticed, with those prop firms, right? The prop firms are what brought the futures into the spotlight. And I've been following a lot of stuff with that in recent times. I'll talk more about that soon. But anyway, just a side note. All right. So this trade is probably going to get tapped at the trailing stop. Do I have any questions? Wow, look, I have some people actually watching me today. I guess it's because Bitcoin has actually been nuts in getting people's attention. Any questions? So if you want to try out the Trade Scanner Pro, again, there's a 14-day free trial. Look, I'm going to put the screen on here. I see I got no feedback about my screen layout here. No one likes it? Yes, no? if you go to the link in the description, it'll take you to this page, and you can subscribe for it right here. Right? You just press this button here. You can pay yearly or you can pay monthly. There's a 14-day free trial. If you click on this button, it'll take you to the registration page. You simply fill it out. Make sure that you put your TradingView username in this field right here, because if you don't, you're not going to get the invitation. The invitation only takes about 30 minutes to 1 hour to receive if you put your TradingView username in there correctly. If it takes longer than an hour, then most likely you haven't put your username in there correctly. So that's an important point. And please just be patient and give it like the hour, and then you'll get your invitation. You get your notification from TradingView. You put the thing on your chart, and you're all set to go. You just have to make sure, oh, it got stopped out. See that? So you just have to make sure that when you get your Trade Scanner Pro, that you turn on all of these boxes, because they're turned off initially. So you turn them on, and don't turn counter trend on. Counter trend is for special situations like I just pointed out here. And I would not recommend that for beginners. Just learn how to trade with the trend first. What's your strategy for spot when you're bullish like now? If you're waiting until 60K, okay. So you're asking basically about dollar cost averaging or investing. For the spot, first of all, I don't really venture out besides Bitcoin or Ethereum. I really don't look at other coins. I mean, I think XRP is interesting because of all the court cases, and it went from 30 cents to like whatever, $3 in like one day, whatever that was. I'm exaggerating, but you know what I'm saying. So I find certain coins like that somewhat interesting, but for the most part, I don't really participate in too many other things. So Bitcoin, it's just simple dollar cost averaging, but with levels in mind. So just really quickly, I've explained this many times, but maybe you're new, so you haven't heard it. But I like to do it like in terms of schedule. So what I do is 1st of the month or 15th of the month. You have to decide which is better for you. You're going to buy a certain proportion of Bitcoin, right? You're not going to use leverage, but you have to have a certain amount of money set aside for this. It could be whatever, 1,000, 10,000, whatever. Obviously, you're not going to do very much with $1,000, but let's just say it happens to be 10,000. Now, each month you're going to allocate a portion of that to wherever the price is. So it could be $100, it could be $200, whatever. You have to decide what that amount is. But here's where it gets more strategic. I'm going to go to the bigger picture for this. So we can go back to the BTC USD chart because it has all my levels on it. So when you're in that situation, oh, this is not the right chart. Hold on. Let me pull up the Coinbase chart. I have it on Coinbase. Okay, yeah, this is my chart that I have on TradingView. So the idea is the lower it goes, and this is where you can put limit orders in front of the market because it doesn't matter. The lower it goes, you buy slightly more. So at high levels, at very high levels, especially in the 100Ks, when your buy date comes, you buy your smallest increment. Maybe it's $100, right? But when the market gets hammered like this, maybe you make a special purchase outside of your normal schedule when you see a massive move. Now, of course, you're not going to get the bottom. But let's say it happens to go to 80K. You're like, wow, this is a good price. Or when it went to 90K, oh, that's a pretty good price. You buy a little bit more, but you're not buying out of your 10,000. You're not buying $5,000 worth. Maybe you're buying, instead of 100, maybe you're buying $200. Maybe you're buying $300 on that one instance. In fact, you could put the limit orders in now. You put some at 90K, you put some at 80K, you put some at 70K, you put some at 65K. The lower it goes, you want to put them a little tighter because the lower the market goes, it's probably going to go lower less and less and less because people are attracted to buying it, right? So the idea is at lower prices, you put more weight on your shares or on your amount you buy, but you have to know your levels. That's the key thing. So an attractive level, 73K is a level. That might be a good level for an investing limit order. 65K is a level. 80K is a level. Where are we now? 86. 80K is a level. 90K was a level. But that's it. Like after that, you're looking at small bites. And I'll always say that near highs. From between 90K and 109K, I have not been encouraging people to invest. I've been like small bites, small bites. I don't even talk about investing anymore. I don't touch these things at high prices because I know this is eventually what unfolds. Okay. And for months, this took months. And people hate when I do it because, I'm telling people you got to be careful at highs. You got to be careful at highs. And people don't want to hear that. But let me give you a quick story. What time is it? All right, I got a few more minutes. Let me give you a quick story. Okay, so that's basically the strategy in a nutshell. It's very simple. There's really no special thing to it. It's just a matter of buying slightly more until you buy your full allocation, which would be $10,000 worth, let's say, until you're all in. And the thing is, so if you do it that way and you schedule it out, first of the month, fifth, middle of the month, 15th, maybe you make one purchase, maybe you make two purchases, but that's all you're doing. You're going to have an average price over time. And if the market really gets hammered and your buy date comes along, you're going to be averaging in at lower prices, but that's where you want to put in slightly more. And you don't want to use leverage. Now, keep in mind, Bitcoin is not a safe asset. So, and we all like to think of, it's the safe asset. It's the blue chip, blah, 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 blah. Michael Saylor, blah, blah, blah. Bitcoin can go to 20K. It's hard to believe, but you have to just keep that in the back of your mind. It can happen. So this isn't like Google, if you're dollar cost averaging with a high quality stock like Google or whatever, Apple, Amazon, they'll pull back. You're getting a high quality company. Bitcoin is not a high quality company. Keep that in mind. And this is especially true for altcoins, which can go to zero. Just wanted to put that out there. All right. I'm not one of these, Bitcoin's going to be $1 million. I'm not one of those. This is a highly risky market. And if you want to invest money, there's plenty of good stocks out there. Plenty of good stocks. Just it doesn't hurt to have Bitcoin as part of your portfolio, but don't bet on this thing. It's going to be at $1 million in a year, like everyone says. I'm going to be rich. Don't be one of those guys. All right. Now, quick story I just wanted to mention. So when Bitcoin was pushing the highs, right? When we touched 108, we touched 109. People ask me, is this a good time to invest? I know it's going higher. I don't want to miss out. And I say, usually like I get these questions when it was pushing like 105, right? Going into the highs. And this is what I tell them. So imagine you invest because they don't think of dollar cost averaging. They're I have a couple of thousand to invest on. Just buy it all at 105. Think about this. So let's say you bought it at 90K when after the election and Bitcoin broke out and you missed the breakout, but you still had the fear of missing out and some fake guru convinced you that this thing is just getting started. So you took the chance and you bought in at 90K, right? Back in November or whatever. And you're in with your whatever, let's say it's $5,000 and you watch this thing run to 100K. Are you going to sell any? Probably not. You're going to be like, this thing's just getting started. Yeah, I'm going to hold on. I'll sell some at 200K. Then you watch this thing go to 105 and you're like, I'm a genius. I may buy some more here because, man, I'm making some money. All right, cool. I mean, I know it's not a lot on $5,000, but still, your money's growing. You're happy. It goes to 108. And all this very positive news is coming out at that time. And you're excited. You're like, yeah, right? Are you going to sell any at 108? Probably not. Probably not. Now you watch it pull back after the 108. Remember, was this 108 over here? Yeah. We watch it pull back, right? You watch this pull back and you're like, all right, you know what? When it pops back up, I'll sell some. And look, you had plenty of opportunities to do just that. Maybe you sell a little, but then you watch it go higher. You watch it go to 109. You're like, okay, this is it. This thing's going. I'm going to hold on now for the long haul. I'm just going to hold this thing. You're not selling it. You don't sell this. You hold on. Maybe you even buy a little more. Oh, yeah, I'm going to buy that. Some that I sold, whatever, I'm going to buy them back. And then this. So my point is, buying at the highs or investing at the highs is the worst possible thing you can do, because you're not going to get out. You're not going to get out and take a small profit. You're going to hold on and expose yourself to more risk. Those are what are risky prices. If you believe that nonsense about Bitcoin going to 150K or 200K, sure, it can happen, but it's likely to pull back first, right? That's just more likely. So you have to understand like the behavior of general markets. That's all markets behave this way. So what you want to do is you want to wait for prices that are hated, that everyone's like, oh, this thing sucks, right? 78K. Well, now we know that. But if it goes back there, that might be a good price. Even though it may go a little lower, that's still a price that people are banging out at, right? Imagine. So my point is, you're not going to sell this thing after buying it and it goes a little higher, yet you're taking all the risk. So all you're actually doing in these situations, all you're doing is letting the rich people out. They're dumping it on you, because you have to think about how this game generally works. And stocks work the same way. The rich people, or the funds, the institutions, whatever, they accumulate because they can at bad prices, the prices that the retail doesn't want. Okay, prices like this, they accumulate, and they could take the pain. They have deep pockets. When the market cycles to these highs and all the news is extremely positive and everyone's partying and everyone's rich and, oh, I bought XRP and I'm a bazillionaire now, right? All that nonsense. You see what's going on with these meme coins. It's complete nonsense. But when the retail trader can't get enough of this stuff, that's when they sell it to you. And price is going higher. You're letting the rich out and they're getting richer. That's how it works. So you want to reverse your thinking and think, okay, when prices are hated, that's really when I want to invest. When the retail trader is getting banged out, when the retail trader is no longer interested in this thing, when they're all losing their money, that's who you're getting, you're buying it from them. That is what the institutions do. Markets have always worked this way. This is nothing new. All right, so that's my little speech on investing. Sometimes when the market's pushing highs or whatever, you can't help yourself. Okay, but you just buy small so that when this happens, you're like, I can take it. I can handle the pain. No big deal. Right? Anyway, I hope you found that story useful. I know it was a long rant, but I couldn't help it. You got me started. All right, so any questions? So guys, all right, I'm just going to put this link in the channel here. The link is in the description as well, but you can go and you can get the Trade Scanner Pro for 14 days. TSC, let me just type it in, TSCPRO. All right, that's the link right there. That should be the correct link. I just put it in the chat, and I'm going to put it here so you can see it. Okay, yeah. That'll take you to the page that I showed you. Sign up, give it a try. You can cancel it at any time. It's very easy to cancel. All right. Hey, no problem. Savi, you're still here. All right, cool. He watches me. This guy's committed, man. I met Savi a few times. Nice guy. So thanks for sticking around. Anyway, guys, so check it out. If you have any questions, you can send me an email at mark@markpremarkets.com. You could send me a message on TradingView. Stian had mentioned that, there's some stuff going on in the community where there's, people are spamming affiliate links and stuff like that. Just be careful. If anyone reaches out to you as me, right? If I reach out to you unsolicited and I'm asking you for money, or Stian reaches out to you, or Alex reaches out to you, they're a fake, because we don't do that. So if you get a message from one of us asking for money, it's a scammer. Just block them, report them. Don't pay them any money and whatever, right? That's just to let you know. So if you're going to reach out to me and you reach out to me first, I respond back. Otherwise, I don't send you unsolicited messages. Please be careful. All right, everyone. So with that, I'll let you go. If you have any questions, like I said, you know where to find me. All right, everyone. So enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your evening. Let's see, where are we? Yeah. Enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your evening, wherever you are in the world. And thank you very much for watching.